Hey, my name is Wilfredo Soto. I live in Connecticut, and I recently started a website called zillapress.us. Right now, I'm still building it, but the idea is to take whatever is sort of in modern media and maybe contemporary media. I don't know, but just take whatever is like online that is informational or like helpful and see how I can sort of add like my own spin on all of that and see how I can help, solve some, you know, problems or puzzles or barriers or concerns or something to sort of um, to help empower people who are looking for like more self help and things like that. Uh, Specifically using this idea of um, you know do no harm, right? U.S. Constitution, and Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all that stuff. Like safety, all that is important. So all this is everything I'm sharing is is basically to help, right? Help yourself so you can maybe pay it forward, help someone else. Maybe, for example, like your community or I don't know, someone, a stranger, someone, as long as you're safe, obviously, right? Um, See what you can do to sort of just I don't know, live your best life, you know. Anyways, today is 4/11/2019, and yeah, so yeah, um, I was thinking, right? How how do you get to the sense of sort of balance of how do I manage my problems or how I feel or my lifestyle or my goals, right? Milestones. How do I manage all these things so that I feel successful and then I sort of I am successful, right? To me, maybe not to other people, but I'm sort of moving the timeline and moving myself towards like my goals and everything like that, so that I still feel good. I feel good. I look good. I'm acting good, and I'm more likely to maybe be successful or maybe to innovate something or to be inspired or to inspire or to pioneer or something like that, right? And so yeah, I started thinking, how do you do that? How do you get to that? And I felt that the simplest way to get to this place of, hey, I'm in the right state of being, right? Or this well being, was to think about four things, at least four things, right? Um, think about what makes me mad, what makes me upset, what makes me frustrated, or what makes me angry, right? I feel like in order to really like get to know yourself, right? To be like what you were meant to be, right? Whatever that is. Remember, all safety, right? Everything's safe, no chaos, nothing crazy, nothing like bananas, nothing like way far out, you know. But something, how do I get to this point in my life where like, I've dreamt my dreams. I've manifested my destiny. I found this my pursuit that leads to, my authentic happiness and all this stuff, How do I get there? And um I feel like one of the barriers, maybe around the planet, is this idea that, what, maybe something bothers me, you know, or maybe it doesn't. How do I know if it bothers me and how do I know if it doesn't? And if it does bother me, how do I manage what I'm feeling, right? Maybe I don't want to talk about it. Maybe I don't want to share what I'm feeling or anything. How do I manage this so that I can maintain my sense of independence and continue living my life, right? And I thought, well, maybe some of the barriers amongst like other things or a lot of things, right? And some of these things could be like, this idea of nature versus nurture, and how do we honor, our commitments right now and our commitments for later, For example, like how do I honor like my ancestry, my heritage, what, my upbringing has taught me, what my community has taught me, and whatever team or teams I'm a part of. How do I manage that, right? So that's one side of the coin, so to speak. But the other side I want to focus on is what I think is the more difficult side, that takes more time to process and to manage, because I don't think we talk about it enough. I don't think it's around the planet enough. This idea of managing how I feel in conflict, and being mad, upset, frustrated, and angry, or angry, right? I think it's important to sort of define. You gotta define what it is you're trying to solve. Trying to manage, right? Um, to be upset, right? To be upset compared to being angry. Being angry might feel like, I have this energy. I just want to get up and do something because of something maybe I don't agree with, or maybe I agree for something, but this is a barrier, something, right? So angry to me, right, Wilfredo, right, means more like a lot of energy, and I wanna just be a part of something, some influence, so I can stop being angry, right? So if I disagree with you know one thing right now is abortion, right? There was a recent law that is, I think it was signed in Ohio, a really new abortion law. So I'm angry about abortion. I want that to change. So I'm gonna use my words, right? Because the right to bear arms, Second Amendment. You can use creativity. You can use the typewriter. You can use pen and paper, and send make sure it's not promoting violence, right? You don't hurt nobody. But this is how I feel. And I'm angry, so I'm part of this influence to stop that. Versus frustrated, where maybe I'm not angry, where I want to get up and do something. So if I normally feel like a zero, right? I'm baseline, feel zero, and angry is a two, then frustrated might be a one. You know, and I'm frustrated, got me thinking, but doesn't want to make me move. So I'm frustrated. Might be frustrated with traffic. If this light were to change colors, so I'm frustrated. So angry, frustrated, and maybe being upset. So you have a one and a two, and then maybe being upset is like a plus one. Whereas like, I'm not angry, right? I'm not frustrated, but I'm kind of upset, It just kind of irks me the wrong way. Kind of, I don't know. That's upsetting. Not frustrated, like, maybe I can't solve this. I wonder why. Not angry was like, I get it, but no, Upset. It's important to understand. And then mad. Like, you know what? Nah. I'm mad. So 1, 2, plus 1, plus 2. I'm mad. Because I disagree. I disagree with that. I don't agree with that. No. I went from upset, now I'm mad. I'm not frustrated where, I feel some type of way. I'm not angry where I'm like, but I'm mad. And I think it's important to sort of quantify, and like I'm mad a little bit, or I'm mad a lot, I'm not mad at all, or things like that. Kind of mad. Quantify, how I feel, and sort of think about what does that really mean to me? Like, so maybe I'm frustrated with something. So what next? So I'm frustrated. what am I doing, right? What are my coping skills? Coping, is how to manage something. I'm coping with this concern. I'm coping with being upset or coping with being frustrated. What do I do? How do I manage this? Coping skills. I think that for me, right? Once I get to the point where I'm like, all right, this makes me upset. It makes me frustrated. Once I sort of understand like what level of maybe concern I have, or what level this of barrier this might be, right? Because not everything is like an emergency, not everything is a crisis, not everything is a problem, and not everything is even a concern. So kind of levels, sort of understanding, like at what stage, if I have like you know 2 steps or 4 steps, what level of being mad, upset, frustrated, angry. What does that mean? I think that's important. So just getting that right and sort of establishing that this is how I feel. I think it's important to sort of get to the point where I'm not like in a state of like denial of like nah, I'm not upset or I'm not angry, I'm not frustrated. Sort of get to this phase of acceptance, right? Maybe bargaining with this idea. And this is I'm borrowing from the Kubler-Ross model of this managing with grief, right? But just this idea of how to manage how I feel so that I can feel better. Um, you know, so let's bring it back. So yeah, so what do I do? Okay, the whole goal is how do I bargain? Bargain is sort of like how do I trade? How do I manage this sort of like diplomacy, right? How do I manage these ideas and how do I manage like this energy, this emotion, or this sequence, or this way of life, this term of events, schedule of events that makes me frustrated or upset or something. How do I manage that? What do I do to stop feeling this way? Because I'm human, human, mammal, right? I'm a guy, so XY chromosomes, How do I manage all this, and I'm Puerto Rican, right, Latino, so how do I manage that and my heritage and ancestry and ethnicity and all these things? I manage that and sort of maintain a sense of self, my authentic self. And how do I do that, and how do I manage this energy, this something that maybe I had no influence over, or I didn't choose to happen, or I didn't make happen, or something. How do I manage that? And further still, how do I manage what if somehow I somehow I don't know, I'm frustrated because something and that led to something else happening. Now I'm frustrated, right? So I accidentally, or maybe I said the wrong thing, or did the wrong thing, or did the right thing, or something, and eventually, now it's come back to me. Now I'm frustrated because, like, man, I'm upset. Like, what do I do? What do I do? So quick summary, right? Uh, the idea is sort of admit this is how I feel, and sort of to label, to define what am I feeling, right? And mad, upset, frustrated, angry. And then from there, once I sort of admit and sort of, all right, it is what it is. What level is it? For a sense of urgency. Because if I'm upset and it's like a level 1, or or if I'm upset it's level 2, it's a different way of coping, right? So now have these 3 ideas so I can get to how do I cope, right? And a simple example, metaphor might be, I'm going to work today, but I don't know if I want to wear, do I want to wear a tie? Do I want to wear, a button up? Do I want to wear a polo? Do I want to wear a sports jacket? What kind of day am I gonna have? Well, I gotta think about that, and then from there, I can prioritize how am I gonna manage my time, manage my schedule, manage my milestones, so that I can win, I can achieve, I can bargain, I can use my time, use my resources as effectively, as creatively, as amazing as possible. So I can have a good day, or a decent day, or an average day, or a baseline day. Very important. Very important. So moving forward, once you get to this mentality of all right, cool. Now I understand. Now I know what it is, and now I'm gonna cope. So you gotta decide. How do you cope? So what are you gonna do? And I think this is the most important part of coping, right? Now that I feel what I feel, what am I gonna do now to manage how I feel? What am I gonna do now to manage my timeline? Because now I have to live with this. Right? Memories are permanent. Forgiveness is one thing, and memories is another, and having to cope and all this stuff, that relates to mind, body, spirit. What happens inside the body, and all the the chemicals that turn into tissues and organ systems and stuff like that, and our responses and impulses and nervous system, things like that. It all works together, which helps us with how we perceive things, and how we perceive things we can change and things that we can't change, things that are influential and things that we don't think can influence. It's important because going to this idea of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, eventually you get to a point where you got all these things, physiological things that you manage, and then eventually you get to like esteem and all these other things, and at the top of the pyramid is this idea of self-actualization. How do I get to this level of this being dope, this dopeness, of this amazingness, right? I think of I used to DJ, so I like this idea of the song Empire State of Mind, right? How do I get to this level of this, like, oh my, this dope state of mind, and this whole MO, this whole mentality, this whole sequence, this whole outline that continues to prove I am who I am. Continues to prove that I'm living every day to the best of my capacity, not wasting time, and making sure that I enjoy my time while staying safe. Right? That's important. And I'm saying this to sort of prove what I'm about to say, right? About coping. When you're gonna cope, it's important to remember, like for me, if I'm gonna do something, the whole goal is not to hurt myself. And the whole goal is not for my choices to lead to something that, man, I might regret. Because then going back full circle, if I'm gonna regret something, well, for this particular, sequence of events, it's like I started this because I was either mad, upset, frustrated, or angry, or something, and now all these things, and now it's time to cope. But look what happened now. I went from feeling bad, thought I was gonna change how I feel, and now I feel bad. Still feel bad. Or I feel some type of way, rather. Perception of like bad and good, and I think it's all right. I think it's normal to feel frustrated sometimes, or to feel upset, or to feel mad, or to feel angry. Is what happens after you feel that way, which is why I'm sort of sharing this, because with coping, you don't want to do something that's gonna be chaotic. You know, you don't want to do something that's gonna, lead to a mistake. Or, mistakes happen, but there's a lot of things going on around the planet right now. There's a lot of news, there's a lot of media, and unfortunately, I feel like there's still some expression that this continues throughout time that is related to negligence. You know, uh, and I'll give you an example of negligence. Right, I recently saw somewhere on Twitter on my timeline that there was a person who was stealing food from a store. I think it was a corner store, bodega or something. So, the person who worked at the store was like, "Yo, what's going on? You're stealing, not right. Can't do that." And obviously the laws and things like that. So, normally, you're taught don't steal, right? And then remember, I'm coming at this from the root of negligence. But the moral of the story was that later, after a little bit of of investigation and kind of just sort of what happened, wondering, uh, the stealing was later understood, uh, because this person was trying to survive. Um, so for that moment, for that sequence, you know, what was happening was all right. It wasn't negligence. Although someone who, like I said, is stealing, taking from the store, can't do that. It's wrong, right? But but that was an interesting story to me, and I wondered. I was like, wow, hmm. The beauty of being able to understand why something is happening and then what happens next. This is being shared to prove the idea that chaos, negligence, these two ideas are concerning, are barriers to coping effectively, just managing something so that I can stop being a part of this sequence, this lifestyle, this something, so I can get to somewhere that makes more sense, keeps me balanced, keeps me harmonic. Remembering that everything is rooted in, safety, do no harm. Everything, uh, everything is to help you thrive, making sure nobody gets hurt, right? Because we're human. Um, it's interesting how, remember I said you might feel mad, upset, frustrated, or angry, and you quantify, these things, how I feel, you bargain, and how you explain, you begin to explain maybe to yourself, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going to do next. And sometimes negligence or chaos can be in the most simplest of choices. I think a very simple, maybe mundane or mediocre choice might be, well, I feel some type of way, and you know what? I'm gonna procrastinate. I'm gonna choose not to do something. I know I have a schedule, but no, nobody's getting hurt. I'm doing my own thing. I have the time. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna do this later. I'm gonna procrastinate. I'm just gonna choose not to do something. Right. The choice is made. Simple. Got it. Fine. Although, here's the thing. How do I know if this procrastination is a form of, being like some small form, some 0.00001% of chaos, or negligence, on my part? How do I manage that? What do I do? Well, you gotta look at the history. You gotta look at the reason why something is happening, because right, is it justified? Is this action all right? Is it okay, or is it is it like malbehavior, like bad behavior, right? Like, um, I'm trying not to use the word bad or good or whatever, because I think eventually I'll sort of maybe later explain more about um, the concept of good, concept of bad, right? And again, a very simple example. In Connecticut, right, like I said about abortion, Connecticut, you can have an abortion. But somewhere else in the United States, on this planet, you can't have an abortion. And this difference between right and wrong, you know. And that's a major topic. And that's not for now, that's for later. But we'll just go with mal behavior. You know? So how do I know? You have to go back to why you started this. I feel some type of way. I want to change how I feel. But in order to change how I feel, I have to admit and sort of bargain with what I'm feeling. So maybe I move less out of denial, maybe more into acceptance of something, or so on and so forth. And you know, I do this on a regular basis so I can live maybe the best version of myself, the most authentic version of myself, making sure that I don't get hurt, nobody gets hurt, and everybody's safe. Because there's no point in you know sort of breaking somebody else's bubble, right? Bursting someone else's bubble to keep my bubble safe. There's usually almost I want to say most or many of the time it's not a nah, it doesn't work that way, right? You don't sort of hurt somebody else's feelings just to keep your feelings. And you don't do that for no reason. You got to make sure that what you're doing isn't negligent, isn't a part of some form of chaos, even if it's like a little bit of chaos. And that's important. You know, and I'm not. I'm tempted to sort of go into this realm of, oh, that choice was righteous, and tempted to say, oh, that choice was justified. I'm sort of alluding to that. It's justified, it makes sense, and given the history, the behavior, the environment, the ecosystem, and so on and so forth. Making a good choice, making a good decision. It's moral. What's of value and moral compass, and but things like that aren't. Though what I just said, you can't just sort of make the statement, because, like I said, what ironically, and that's the beauty of the United States, it's the beauty of this planet, of this solar system. Depending on where you stand on the planet, you have the ability to live a certain authentic self. The beauty of I won't go too much into it, right? If you want to learn a little bit more about what I'm about to say, I think I'm going to use zillapress.us for to talk more about policy, legislation, and being progressive, and all this other stuff. Mind you, I have a individualized BA from UConn in Child Development and Social Welfare Policy, class of 2012. But yeah, this the beauty of the beauty of the United States, sort of empowering the seeking asylum movement. The beauty of the United States on reciprocity and the ability of freedom of speech, which I think goes with freedom of choice, and really helps develop a very vivid, a very progressive moral compass, contemporarily and then modernly, across time, across the solar system. So I'm gonna bring it back though. Stay with me. All right? Stay with me. So, all this to say, um, choice and why you're doing something is important. And you know, I'm gonna rule out the side of the coin that says, well, mistakes happen. That's not how we do things. That's not how you plan a budget. That's not how you plan an outline. That's not how you lead a project. You have the goals, and then based on what you have and history and everything else, what that means and what that'll later mean, right? Publicly, and, diplomatically, excuse me. You create a vision, and then you have your mission. There you go. And the vision is how I hope to get there, and the mission is what I want to accomplish. Right? So goal and milestones to get there, the checkpoints and half times and overtime, all these strategies and puzzles and sequences. Very beautiful and very amazing thing. One of the things I love about is being alive at this time, the beauty of of life, of this. It's almost 2020. So much cool things going on, just everywhere. Really cool. So yeah. Um, but thinking, why am I choosing to do something? Why is this cool to me? Why is this alright to me? Why is this okay to me? What is dopeness? What is this? Why? Does this work for me now? Will this work for me later? Will this work for me for forever? For a long time? Is it alright for me, but not for others? Is it right for others, but not for me? How does that, and what does that mean for my character, for my personality? How I cope, how I help, how I empower myself, how I empower others, how I help, why I help. I think, thinking about that, how a simple choice, going back to what I was saying, right? Simple choice to use maybe 20 or 30 minutes to just, I'm gonna do my own thing, I'm gonna cope that way. Choosing to do that and then knowing why, what does that really mean for my milestones, for my authentic self, am I doing it because I'm doing it to be mean? Am I doing it because I want to soothe myself? Am I doing it because I'm stressed out? I can't manage right now. Am I doing it because, well, something. I think that's important. I think that's what I was just trying. What I was trying to say when I began this, you know, uh, video. I think helping is important. I think knowing why you want to do something is important. I think I think Maslow is really important, especially when you consider, you know, this all that stuff how it relates to me feeling okay and all right, and how that relates to everybody else. Eventually, even people I'll never meet. I think it's really interesting, and then and this how all that just works together, like at the solar level, the global level, and so on and so forth. Um, and how that influences, you know, things on a daily basis that I'm a part of, that I'm not a part of. Very interesting to me, and I think that's dope. I think that's for me. That's a variation of dopeness for me. Things that make me wanna use my time to learn more about, just to help me enjoy my day. Helps me, stay in good form, I guess. I don't know. Other things are worth mentioning too, right? Dopeness is in music. Dopeness is in, all right, helping. Talked about that. I feel like dopeness is in learning too, right? The beauty of Wikipedia, the beauty of tutoring, right? Voluntary, very, very important and interesting. And yeah, I don't, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah, let me stop rambling. Anyways, yeah, I felt like I wanted to make this, uh, video, because I was thinking about someone who I thought needed some help, and I thought if I put this online, maybe I can help someone. And I feel like I can get my point across better versus like typing up this, that, and the third. Um, because I can type and I can go online and post or press this idea or something, retweet. Um, but you can't hear how I'm trying to say it. Can't it's different. It's different. You know the beauty of learning through sound and being able to see you know where you're learning from and just all of that. Anyways, I said I was gonna stop rambling. So my name is Wilfredo. I go by Will, and I live in Connecticut. Hopefully this helps. And I will say this: if you need help, definitely call somebody. Get help. That means calling a doctor, going to the hospital. You know, if you gotta call 911, call 911. Tell them tell them what you gotta tell them what you gotta say. Just tell them how you feel and tell them you want help and do that. You know, if that's not for you, there's definitely like crisis hotlines you can call or go and Google that. Or maybe talking to someone you trust. I don't know. Maybe I'm suggesting I'm gonna suggest call 911, but I think you should choose what you want to do. But maybe for example, um, you know, maybe speaking to family or a friend or something. Just make sure you're not hurting yourself. If you're hurting, if hurt is a part of the equation, the sequence, the algorithm, or whatever at all, you know, I gotta promote call 911. Call for help. Call somebody, and let a professional help you. Um, there's a lot of beautiful things that can really add to the dynamic of just being a beautiful human being. Uh, to an amazing life, to having an incredible lifestyle, even if that means going for a walk and drinking your favorite coffee every day, you know, or just drinking your favorite water, or like, viewing your favorite view or something simple. For me, I think that a lot of barriers, problems, or concerns, or disputes, something. I feel like the difference is that we have to manage and all these other things, and I feel like a lot of it is coping skills. Man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how. I wish I had a role model. I wish I was just told, I'm feeling, I don't know, I feel some type of way. Blah, blah, blah. Is this acceptable? Is this, all these things. Everyone wants to enjoy their life. Everyone wants to be able to be safe. Everyone wants to live authentically. No one wants to feel hurt. No one wants to be persecuted or oppressed. I feel like that's common sense. But sometimes you just have to clear the air, maybe, or just establish the premise, the root, the baseline, whatever you want to call it, to live a beautiful life, And that's worth being patient for. That's worth thriving for. That's worth being a role model for. And I think that is clearly worth living for. Again, my name is Wilfredo. Call me Will. Follow me on Twitter at ZillaPressUS. Take care.